Okay. And we are live. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome back. We are super, super excited to have all of you guys here and us here, ready to talk about Speak Initiative for our second night. We are so excited. Thank you so much for joining us. And all of you who were there yesterday, all of you are coming back today. Thank you. We did not know that you guys were commenting yesterday. It wasn't showing up in our feed, and we didn't know why. So we could see you, but we couldn't see your comments. So we're going to do our best to try to see your comments and get your questions today. Thank you so much for you who diligently watched and commented, and we weren't ignoring you. We just couldn't see you. So today we're going to do a little better. Super excited to have you all with us. Today is going to be a wonderful day. Today we're going to be focusing on action. So
Yes.
for the week, we have different themes. And yesterday we were talking about empowerment, which is the A, excuse me, not the A, come on, Kathleen, the E in speak. Today we're going to be talking about action, which is the A in speak. And tomorrow we're going to be reflecting on kindness. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. We are so excited to have everyone back. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Kathleen Meredith. I am a writer and a positivity igniter, but for your services today, I am I have the distinct pleasure of being your host. And we're super excited to be launching Speak Suicide Prevention all week. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're just tuning in, we want to make sure that you follow us, not just on Facebook, but on Instagram, Speak Suicide Prevention. Use the hashtag It's Time to Speak. You can also visit our brand new website, which we just launched, speaksuicideprevention.org, and you can get inspiration, support, resources, questions, all that fun stuff. And also go ahead and join our mailing list because you can get that information right in your inbox. All right. So without any further ado, because we're running just a tad late today, I'm going to jump right in. I want to introduce Rachel again. Rachel, who is the CEO, creator, and just dope lead creator, manifester of this amazing nonprofit, Speak Suicide Prevention. Welcome back, Rachel.
Thank you. Good evening. How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm great. And I just wanted to again let the participants who are watching or the viewers know yesterday I couldn't see the comments, but I hope to have responded to each and every one of you in the comments already. And I do have I have my phone here, so I'm watching the comments as well. So if you see us looking down and doing two things,
Yes, I'm doing the same exact thing.
yeah, so I want to make sure, I'm not forgetting about anybody. I see a few people on already. Hi out there. Thank you for coming back again. And I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation.
Yes, looking forward to it. Hi, guys. How's it going? Just saying hi to everyone on the chat. And I also would like to introduce one of my closest, dearest, oldest, bestest friends, who is incredibly talented. She's not on here because she's one of my closest friends. She's on here because she's one of the most talented women I've ever met. She's very smart, very amazing. She is a nurse, she is a doula, she is a freedom practitioner. She does a lot of work with women and sexual trauma, and she is also a suicide survivor. So I'm so excited to have her on. Her name is Miss Yana Sidnor. Yana, welcome to the launch. How are
You
you?
give me so much love. How could I not just feel like, oh no, she's a bad Mama Jam is playing after you finish my intro. I am blessed. I am blissful. I am grateful for today. I am here. So grateful for the opportunity to speak. And I love that name, speak, say out loud. That's an action in itself. But just to be able to speak about something that firsthand experience I've lived and, as you said, survived. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us. Super excited. All right, so we're going to jump in with some questions for you, amazing ladies. And if you are in the chat and you have questions, this time we'll actually see them. So feel free to jump in and ask questions, and we will respond to them this time, unlike last time. So, yesterday, Rachel, you shared with us what is Speak. For those of us who were on today but maybe weren't on yesterday, could you please just share briefly, really quickly, what is Speak?
Sure. So, SPEAK is suicide prevention through empowerment, action, and kindness. Our mission is basically to reduce the stigma around suicide and mental health care in our community by allowing our partners to speak, be heard, and live fully. And we have a couple of a couple of focuses. We're focusing on, again, empowerment, action, and kindness. And our purpose is to combat the rise of suicide in the Black community, eliminate negative stigma around mental health in our communities, amplify access to resources and support for mental health care, and support and encourage those affected by suicide to speak, advocate, and end the silence, so more people can basically survive. So that's, in a nutshell, what Speak is.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's so cool. And Kiana, if you could tell us about what you do, your experience and the work you do with Black women and whatever, however you would like to share with us what you do.
Well, maybe not as much what I do, but what I am. And I am a freedom practitioner. So I practice the art of being free from anything that feels like it is weighted. Anything that's manifest that doesn't last, that's not going to go with me anyways. I practice that and I empower others to do the same because it doesn't stay. So with that comes, dueling, childbirth, the grief process of being pregnant, the process of now being a mother, dueling through that, spiritual dueling, switching careers or getting a divorce or having a new child, whatever presents you in your life. I practice how to be free from maybe the lower energies that will attack to us and stick to us and make us feel heavy. So that's what I do. I'm also, a day nurse. So working in that field, behind the scenes, reading contracts and genetics and things like that. So I can take that knowledge and get into water and water therapy and the power of water in our life and the power of the breath and the water molecules. So a bit of a nerd, but it all ties back into what I am. I'm a human experiencing life and giving myself the grace to be limitless and to experience all of it with joy.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm like totally into this live already because I'm loving everything that's being shared right now. Question for both of you. So I'm talking to two suicide survivors. Thank you for making the choice to still be here today. Thank you. And I just wanted to hear from both of you as suicide survivors. You both have felt that hopelessness and those feelings of there's no other options. For those who may be on the call and might be feeling that or have felt that before, know someone who's going through that. After your suicide attempt, how did those feelings stop? What process helped you go through that? And then what actions did you take that eventually demonstrated that there were other options for you besides, ending your life? And we can start with Kiana.
Okay. So, even though it's been a while, it doesn't change the relevancy with thoughts because we can bring things right to the right now with how we think. So how I got out of that mindset of wanting to not be here, because hopelessness means that you don't think there's anything that can be done. It's over, it's finished, right?
Right.
And I changed my mindset to think that anything outside of me, because I never felt like I ended. I never felt like I began. I felt like the holy breath that's in me and the Holy Spirit never ends. So I changed my mindset to think that somehow this body that gets wrinkled and changes and hair turns gray is me. And I stopped attaching to it. So once I changed my mindset, I was able to let the clouds of life come, let them pass, cry, the ugly cry, and feel everything that was coming, feel it without objection to it, feel it without repulsion to it, because it was a part of me. But understanding that it wasn't me, it didn't stay. So my mindset, once it changed, that was able to put me into action, to start using my ego as a tool versus the demon or the evil part of me or the yucky part of me. My ego became a tool. So when I noticed something negative in me, my mindset would say, oh, well, look at what I'm doing there. Why am I doing that? And then I would go into action to take steps to change those patterns that were leading me back into the cycle of depression and anxiety and fearfulness and inadequacy and not being enough. I spoke to my water. I surrounded myself with people that I felt got me, a village, a community who understood on a soul level, my heart. I got around music that was vibrational, that felt like it uplifted my soul. I stopped watching trash TV that, I stopped saying things like I slay. Well, I started looking at what words mean. I started being intentional with how I spoke because I was speaking that and thinking that into my life. And so here we are, continuing on this path of limitless living.
I love that.
And loving it, loving the fragrance that comes from the roses of my life being trampled, from the hurts and the highs and lows, being grateful, having an attitude of gratitude. It's changed everything. It started in my mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Rachel, same question. How did you get from hopelessness to, okay, I want to be here? And then what actions, since we're unpacking, what actions did you take?
It strangely very similar a process. As I said yesterday, I was really upset when my plan didn't work, right? So I had to figure out where to put that anger. And I never was out of therapy after my suicide attempt. It was kind of mandated. I had to go. I had to change therapists though. And I would say, again, it took about 8 months for me to even open up and try to trust my new therapist at that time, right? But I kept showing up for myself. Even when I didn't want to go, I kept showing up. And I kept listening. And even though there were months when she would talk to me and I would be a stone, nothing happening. And I just started listening a little. And then I found community. I found a spiritual space where I was allowed to ask questions and dig into the deep things that we believe about ourselves, right? And how we experience spirituality. And it came as a different mindset. I decided that I needed to do something different because I realized I still wasn't fully in my happy space, but I knew I wasn't where I had been. So I started feeling the shift a little bit, and I just kind of leaned into it. It was scary. It was overwhelming at times, but I knew I had to do something different than what I had done before, because what that led to was me overdosing. And even when I try to go back into my therapist and say, I'm okay, I'm all right, she's like, you're not all right, because no one who's okay will take 60 pills. And it would immediately stop me in my tracks because I had all of this story to tell. And she's like, no, that is not your story. We are starting from here and we are going to look at who you really are. I did not know that prior to me getting into really serious therapy with a trauma specialist, right? So there was therapy, of course. I started writing more. I always have loved to write anyway, and that was an easier way for me to express myself. I started just looking and believing that this life was worth living and that I deserved to actually be here too, right? When I was looking at my spiritual base, we are learning about the tenacity of someone that we follow as Christians, right? But we weren't seeing that greatness in ourselves. So in the space that I was in, it taught me how to see myself as a human. Just like Yana said, have a spiritual being having a human experience, right? And being able to pull even from the challenging moments, being able to say, you know what, I survived that, even if it was a sucky day.
Yeah.
I got through it. It was a mindset change. When I changed my mind, more opportunities started coming. I started seeing things differently. I joined organizations that I probably wouldn't have joined before. I took chances on myself that I wouldn't have given myself before, and that came with vulnerability. And I talked about that yesterday, how being vulnerable is part of healing. Sometimes we have to take a chance, and I know it's scary. I'm not saying any of this is easy, but take a chance on yourself, right? Give yourself that grace to say, you should be allowed to be happy too. Why not? Take the chance. So therapy, spirituality, reading. I started listening to different music. I actually started singing in a choir, like finding things that just gave me joy, and then trying to stay present in my physical body, in my space, and learn myself better, right? I didn't know a lot about myself. I needed to figure out who I really was, and taking time to do that.
I love that. I love that. I feel like there were a lot of elements of what you both said that I feel like, the reason why I love Speak is that it directly speaks to our community. But I feel like the things that you guys did to survive, we as a people collectively don't necessarily do those things. The
Right.
time that you're taking, the idea that I do need help, therapy. The large statistically, I was looking at the numbers. We don't go to therapy. We
Right.
don't talk to each other about our problems, and we
Right.
don't talk to others about our problems. We say things like, oh, we're going to pray on it. We have like all of these different things, but I don't think we ever really unpack the mental health deficiencies that are happening with us as a people. So I'm so elated that we created this space that at least, it starts small, right? But at
Right.
least we're creating something where we can start having conversations about all the things that you guys did to get back to wellness. It's not an impossible situation. So you're
Right.
doing nothing to help yourself, and then there's a decision to end your life, but you haven't done any of the work where you possibly could live.
Right.
So that's not my next question, but it is a great question that I should ask right now. What what do we do? How do we open up these conversations to grandma, mom? I remember when my mom lost her husband. Say that like that wasn't my dad. I was depressed too, but I was very upset. But I was going to therapy. My mother would not, and also she had been married to him for 35 years. She was in deep bone
Right.
crushing grief, and I couldn't even have the conversation about therapy because she didn't want to hear it. She
Yeah.
was not about that. So how do we talk to our parents, our loved ones, our aunties? How do we tell our uncle, hey, I think your nephew's gay. I think he's having a hard time. Maybe we should, I don't know, talk to him about that. How do you raise the conversation of therapy, support, and solutions to a demographic that is not here to hear it? That's my next question. And I'll start with Rachel, and then I'll go to Kiana.
I am smiling because I have a very personal story in relation to that I never thought would turn out the way it did. And I'll just share it because I think it actually made a difference before my dad passed away. Now, I met my dad about 9 years ago now. I hadn't known him most of my life. I didn't remember the interactions or anything. So, new family, siblings, all of these great things, wonderful experiences. And we would talk. He was in another state. I'm here. So most of our relationship was on the phone. I eventually found out we shared some common behaviors and common mental health diagnosis, right? So we would talk about, how I was doing, what I'm feeling, what's going on. And I actually would share with my dad that, I would be struggling on some days. I would be, challenged at sometimes. But I always was honest about the therapy that I was in and the fact that I actually needed a little bit of help with medication. Not to say everyone needs medication, but I just knew it helped me. And so being transparent with him, he was struggling because, sometimes as we age, things happen and it's not in our control. Your body doesn't agree with you anymore. You can't do the things you used to do, whatever the case may be. And it can affect your mental health. It can give you a little depression, whatever, right? And I feel that my dad was suffering a little bit. So we had a discussion. And he said, sometimes I feel bad, but, um, I know I'll get over it. I'll just be fine. And I opened up the discussion of medication to him because he brought to me that they had offered him antidepressants. And he said, well, I'm not going to take them or anything. I don't believe in medication and I've been doing fine all this time. He's an elder at that time and he's been fine. He was managing the way he knew how to manage. But I wanted to lessen the load a little bit and say, you know what? It's not that because of my experience, I wanted to be transparent and say, my medicine does this to me. My medicine does not do this. I don't have these side effects, but on the other ones I did. So I think me educating him about what the experience was, or even what to expect, because everyone thinks that, you're going to get meds and you go to the psychiatrist and then you're like a zombie, or you're dumbed down and you're not performing. Those are extreme cases, and sometimes those are unique situations that people may be in. And there might be other things going on. Long story short, my dad started taking the antidepressants, and he told me in a very comical way. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm starting to feel better. I've been on the pills for a while. I wasn't going to say anything because I wasn't sure if they were, I didn't know what to do about it. But it was just so heartwarming that he took a chance on himself, right? And only because I said, well, what kind of medicine are you taking? I know this one, and I looked it up for him and read to him, doing the work that he wasn't able to do for himself, and just making me feel a little more confident and comfortable in what the doctor was actually recommending for him. My dad passed away probably 4 years ago now, but even in his later days, because I met him, we had basically 4 years together, so 4 years in my earlier life and then 4 years at the end of his life. But I think it was life changing for me,
Yeah.
right? I know that the relationship we had and have, because he's still with me, it was expanded in that moment, right? Because I was able to give him, and he was able to trust me and take a chance to feel better, even in the age that he was at that time, right? So it's sometimes just giving people information, because we don't know and we don't ask those questions. I know when people say, I'm not going to go to therapy. I've never been to therapy. I'm fine. It's great. I'm fine. Everything's okay. You're going to get pushback from some people.
Right.
And they're going to say, I don't believe in it. But I like to be an example. I am a walking example to the people who do not believe, and I keep speaking and I keep presenting myself as I am. I am healthier, I am happier, I am whole. And in this moment, and I would like to give you a gift. So try it. I can't force anyone to seek care, and some of us don't have the patience and we don't want to do it. But I know if I continue to speak my truth and to walk in my truth and to stay transparent and to take a chance and be vulnerable with people I care about, I believe that we can get through this. We can actually open up those conversations more. I had great conversations with my Nana before she passed away, and we never used to talk about mental health. But when the cat was out of the bag, so to speak, there was no hiding anymore. And my relationships became deeper after that. So I use myself and my story.
I muted myself. I love that. I love that idea that once the cat's out of the bag, look, we all have mental problems. Let's stop hiding it. Once we start talking about it kind of fearlessly, I love that there's really nothing to hide anymore. I really love that. I'll turn it over to you, Yana.
Yeah, I love, first of all, Rachel, I just want to say thank you for sharing about your father and your Nana, because I think that if we don't have anything in common as humans, is that we've all lost someone or will lose someone, and that we really care about, and that maybe we didn't have as much time with. And so those are parts of the things we hold on to as unresolvable. They're not like, oh, I'm better and it's perfect now and I'll never go back to that. It's a journey, right?
Yes.
So to continuously give yourself those gifts of positive memories that you do have, instead of focusing on the hurts. My therapist was like, what do you think? She really was pushing me. What do you think you're doing right now? And I said, I'm rehearsing my hurt. She said, you've got it all. Like, I was just, the drama was there, all the tears. And she said, so we're gonna be done rehearsing your hurts. And then I fired her. And then I, because I was like, you don't even want to hear what I have to say, right? But when you bring it back to having these conversations with people in your family, in your household, that, we've talked about the problem. What can we do for a solution? We have to have meaningful conversations. We have to have conversations that matter. to us about people who matter to us. And they're not always easy to have because the feelings of judgment, the feelings of, it's usually ourself. We're in our head and we're telling ourselves how people are going to feel because we don't feel that connection.
Right.
It's the feeling like I'm different or unique. When we're so connected, you wouldn't even imagine there's someone thinking or feeling, or you've experienced something maybe 3 months ago. Oh yeah, I just went through that. Crazy time, right? So we can connect. And what I think is going to open the conversation is the universal, Neo in the Matrix, which is love. Love, literally, if you lead with love, you literally cannot fail. So, I've been around family where it's like, oh, she crazy, you see, she did this, and we're talking about the person. And with love, we have to find a way to say, hey, I love them. I know you love them. What can we do to bring a conversation so that we can fix that? It may be therapy. It may be medication. It may be, hey, you eat Takis and sugar all day. I think you might need to get some nutritional changes. Maybe you should go outside and exercise. Things that naturally will raise us up and build a connection so we can start having conversations. So each person's path to reach this state of feeling less depressed and feeling heard and feeling a part of a community starts with understanding they're all different. And with love, I'm going to love you. I see your path. You're getting off where you told me you want it to be. How can I support you coming back to the truth of you love yourself, you're proud of yourself, you're happy for yourself? I noticed some negative speak. You have to have an accountability partner. Mm-hmm. I noticed that you're speaking some things that you told me you didn't want to do. I'm just checking in. How are you? Having that person that really cares for you and that you care for changes everything, even if it's just one person.
Right.
So we start with love. You be that person to someone. I decided I'm going to be that person to someone's. And when we all do that, we reach the place where therapists can say, yeah, I'm glad that you're working with this person that you couldn't talk to before. Let's work through this. Hey, doctor, I'm glad you talked to your sister. She convinced you to take medication. How is that working for you? I'm glad that you talked to your best friend. You guys are getting up and getting on Zoom and exercising together in the morning. How's that going? These are connections that we need to remake. And it starts with an absolute love and say, I love this person. I love myself. How can we meet here and move forward together? I want you to survive. How can I help you? How can I support you?
You're on mute.
I think on mute, like la 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 la. What I was gonna say is I love what Rachel said yesterday, which is if you, like us, if you feel like you don't have anyone, if you don't have anyone to love, let Speak be that person. Let us call. Let us connect. Let us co-labor together and get you well. Let us connect and make that happen. Because, I know a lot of the reasons why people may feel like they're considering suicide or ideating suicide is they may feel like they actually don't have anyone. And I can say two things. One, there's always someone, even if it's a stranger. There's always someone who's rooting for your life. Always someone. And then I think the other thing is reach out, get help. One of the big things we were talking about yesterday was if you can't go anymore, if you can't persist, at minimum, be vulnerable. Raise your hand. Yeah. Do that hitchhiker thing. I need help. I'm on the side of the road and I'm not going to make it. At minimum, be vulnerable. And then, what does it hurt? If you're actually ideating suicide, what does it hurt if you do it today or tomorrow? Today, be vulnerable and see what happens. And if it still don't work, do it tomorrow. I'm not saying that. I'm not advocating for that. But at least let's have a conversation. Let's try one more day.
Right. Take a chance on yourself. Just give it one more try.
One more try.
It took everything to stay one day more. But it's really that, just one more day. Give yourself a chance. Like you said, lean into it. It hurts now. Can't get any worse, right? Let's lean into that. And let me support you. You actually just get to fall. On the phone with someone, let's, just speak. Wherever you can have a space
that's
going to listen to you, and you're going to be able to feel heard and take some of those things off and put them down. But yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to be vulnerable. Like Rachel said, vulnerability is going to change the game. Because you're opening your heart now. Like I said, it's with love. Vulnerability is saying, I love myself enough to say, someone else can take this right now.
Right. I think a lot of people feel like when they're vulnerable, they're weak.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the same thing. It has nothing to do with weakness.
It really, really does. I'm so glad you said that. I have a breathwork coach whose name is Kathleen. She does a lot of work at the Dream Center, and I, for a long time, have had a lot. I mean, I was deep in my black girl savior, I can do it all, superwoman syndrome, and she said, you know what, Kathleen? I mean, I hate it because her name is Kathleen. She goes, you know what, Kathleen? Your vulnerability is your greatest strength. I was like, Kathleen, I ain't trying to hear that shit. But I couldn't let it go. It like kept going in my brain. It's my greatest strength because the ability to fall back, the power of being able to hold and still be resilient in that is a pretty badass superpower. It really is. And we don't talk about the power of vulnerability. It is a powerful, powerful thing. Because I think the flip side of it is based in fear, and we don't realize that. You know,
Right.
to not be
It
vulnerable.
absolutely is.
Fearful.
Absolutely. I have a comment from Lisa who just said she struggles with vulnerability and she agrees. She doesn't like to appear weak. She said it's definitely a childhood trauma thing.
Been
Right?
there, Lisa.
We grew up like that. We
Yes.
didn't know any better, right? We did or experienced what we were taught because that's what they knew. So it's a continuing of I hate when we don't want to overuse certain words, but generational curses are real.
They are. They are.
And we have to talk about those things. Yes, your mom did this and maybe she didn't know any better because her mom or her dad did that, but let's stop now. Let's have that conversation. Mom, that wasn't really productive when we went through that moment. What happened there? And let's talk about it.
Yeah.
It's the past can't hurt you. It can't physically come back and hit you in the head, but it can still live inside and hurt you. So why not pull it out, sit it on a table, and let's talk about it?
Yeah. AK Blackwood just said toxic traditionalism.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with that. I feel like one of the things that we have as a sense of pride, especially Black Americans in America, is our strength because we had to be so strong before.
Right.
We had to be so strong. We had to take care of everyone's kids, even if they weren't ours. We had to, especially Black women. We've had to do so much to be strong, and that is such a powerful thing in us. But I think we went so strong that we didn't realize how much it was killing us and how much it was hurting us and how much we needed that back then. And there's nothing wrong with our strength when it starts to become toxic. One of my clients she did a TED talk on what's called toxic strength and how much it can just kill you. It really can. You aren't supposed to, the human body isn't supposed to bear the physical, emotional, and mental pain that we as Black women just think is okay.
Right.
That's not vulnerability. That's toxic strength. There's a huge difference. And we all celebrate all we have done and become as a Black people to gain that strength and to survive in this country. But it's time to thrive.
Yes.
Survival, we needed that. Now it's time to thrive.
Exactly.
One beautiful thing about being vulnerable, that again, I look at the etymology of lots of words, and it really just means to be exposed. And since I always say I'm performing for an audience of one, which is me, I'm exposing myself to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm so used to wearing masks and trying to be perfect, I'm a perfectionist as part of my lower self. I understand that when I'm being vulnerable, I'm now being my most authentic self and saying to the world, I'm exposed, or to whomever, even if it's just one person or 2 or 3 friends, I'm exposing myself to you. I'm giving you the access to wound me, but I trust you. I trust me that this hurt can't hurt anymore. I have to let someone help share in this with me, and let's become community. I think vulnerability can be beautiful to take that shield down and understand you don't have to maintain the mask. You don't have to maintain the perfect shell that keeps you from being penetrated by things that may or may not actually harm you. What you're doing is harming you. We know that this hurts. We know that holding this back hurts. We know that using no one hurts. But making a connection, maybe taking down a couple of layers for someone, anyone that's willing to listen, can't hurt you. It can only help you. You've been doing this by yourself. So I love to expose myself to people who say they want it. Oh, you ready? You want this therapist? All right, girl. here you go. And she gets the business. I'd be like, I told you. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's a privilege and it's a joy and it's definitely something we don't do, but I feel like the more we do it, it is awesome. If you are just joining us, we want you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Speak Suicide Prevention. Come check us out and use the hashtag It's Time to Speak because as we have been discussing this entire time, it's time to speak, y'all. I love how all the solutions keep coming back to opening our mouths and saying
Say
we
it.
have to speak.
Just say it.
So hashtag It Is Time to Speak is what we've been using all week. Join our mailing list, get inspiration, support, and resources in your toolbox. Check out suicideprevention.org and keep following us. So I'm going to ask you guys another question. We've answered so many other questions. Like within the questions I had, we like kind of answered those. Let me ask this one. I'm going to talk a little bit. We talked about it a bit, but I want to unpack a little bit further. Black women and strong Black woman syndrome. We know the negative psychological effects, and being a strong Black woman who handles everything and does everything, and doing that, and even the idea of vulnerability is just completely subversive to us. So many of us have to be strong, and I'm not knocking it for kids and family and career. But in terms of taking actions, how do we handle all the stuff we have to handle as Black women and still take off the superwoman cape? How do we adopt a positive mental health practice when we have all of these other things to do? How do we start setting aside some of these capes and hats that we have to wear as Black women? I'll start with you, Yana.
Yeah, because I'm actually just finishing one. I know that it's not always feasible for everyone to put a pin in life, but I frequently put a pin in life. I feel like it's my existence, and I've earned the right to be here, and I've earned the right to explore myself, and to know things that make me want to, I don't know, jump off of a balcony, or I want to know what that is. And so I've found that I can't be pulled in the direction of mom. I completely renounce, and I know that, I'm going to get some slack for this, but I renounce the term strong Black woman. I'm not a strong Black woman. I'm a now aware Moorish American woman. I renounce the terms that lead me to believe that I am in a space that I have to be perfect. I have to be strong. Strong means rigid. It means sometimes in a negative connotation that you're not vulnerable. You're not willing to be vulnerable and to be cared for. I learned how to care for myself and let others care for me, including taking a leave from work, talking to my doctor and saying, I need a couple of days of just nothing. I need you to help me. I'm not able to sleep at night. I'm feeling a little bit anxious. I need to I'm not strong, actually. I'm feeling pretty unstable. I'm feeling unbalanced. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
There's no reason to keep up a facade if it's killing you. If it's making you feel like this is the end, if you're feeling hopeless. And so I had to say, I renounce that. I'm actually not a strong Black woman, and don't call me that, and I'm offended if you say it. Because I was tired of the pressure that came with that requirement. It felt like mental slavery. Strong Black women for years. Strong Black. Yeah. I don't want to be a mental slave anymore. I'm actually, you're telling me I'm strong, but the cognitive dissonance is saying that I'm not. My body is saying that I'm not. My stomach getting a knot to say that I'm not okay. My temper tantrums, my irritability, saying that I'm not okay. So I hear you saying I'm strong, but right now I'm weak. And right now I need to rest. Right now I need support. Right now I need to speak to someone who can tell me it's okay to not be strong. And so I renounce it. I completely think that men and women need to let go of the stereotype that we have to be better and faster and more productive and stronger and superior and all of these comparathon adjectives that add to this human experience, because none of us really know at the end of this, all we have left is this breath that we stretched out and stressed and said, keep going, but we didn't get to know it. We didn't get to know why it felt that way. We didn't stop and explore it. So ending my sabbatical to return to work, you always can't take the time off to care for yourself, but if you can, do. You can't always take 2 hours to go to the gym, but if you can take 15 minutes to just talk to someone, do. That's what I started to do. Hey, okay, I need a best friend call. I need to do a best friend call. I'm feeling a little bit unstable. I need to talk to someone. I just took out little bits of time, and sometimes lots of bits of time, to feel vulnerable and weak and to get support, not just to stay there, but and to do something, action to get support.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I totally agree. Oh, it's my turn?
Your turn, yes.
Yeah. Everything you said, Yana, I totally agree with it. I used to think, well, first of all, anyone with a cape on and they're flying through the air and, strength of lifting buildings, that's a fictional story. That's not real.
It's
We,
not.
we don't have that ability. And that's why it's a story in a movie anyway, because it's entertainment. So
Yeah.
the expectation for us to be that way is unreal. And it wasn't until I hit that wall, so to speak, and decided to do the work to be here that I did start denouncing that. It's like, I don't want to be, don't label me as that. My name is only Rachel Chenoa Jones, and this is who I am. It was a sense of, the first time, it was a sense of failure that I needed to take time off, but I didn't know I even had the opportunity to do so until my doctor said, do you need a couple of weeks? I'm like, what does that mean? I have vacation time, but I don't want to use my vacation and I don't have all of these days. And he's like, no, this is part of your health.
Yeah.
You need a moment. And I'm like, you can do that? Who knew? No one really gives you that permission. We take pride on going to work and being the first one there and the last one to leave and working all of these extra hours. And if you're a salaried employee, you're not getting any extra money, maybe a bonus. If now, who knows what you're going to get? Why are we doing that?
Why?
Who are we competing with, first of all? Because I knew there was no one in my office that I was competing with. I was competing with myself.
There
And
it
just
goes.
recently, someone said to me, who's cracking that whip inside? You don't have to cross every T and dot every I on a certain time frame as if, your life is going to expire at 11:52. This is not Cinderella. We're not going to turn into pumpkins. So we should have some grace with ourselves to say, you know what, I'm human. I need a minute. I have quiet time. And everyone who's in my life knows what my quiet time is. I need time to get myself together. Excuse me. I need time to think. Excuse me. I need time to just reflect and process and to feel, right? Sometimes we go through life so fast, we don't even give ourselves a chance to take a breath and to actually feel what happened to yourself, right? I don't want to be Superwoman. I'm excited that I took the cape off. I don't want the cape. I'm not interested in it. It doesn't match my wardrobe.
Right.
I'm over it. I'm like, I want to travel light. I lead with love in everything that I do, and I want to travel light so that I can receive the same type of love.
Yeah.
I can't receive it if I'm
That's true.
up.
Yeah, I feel like it has to start. I feel like two things came up in what you guys said, and you're blowing my mind with this, and I absolutely love this conversation. One of the two things that come up is this huge thing that happened in the 60s where black people were walking around with signs that said, I am a human being,
Right.
I am a man. And I felt like we got it, like we wanted the civil rights and the legal stuff and all that stuff, and that was important. But I feel like the idea of saying I am a human being also means that you're vulnerable, that you live, that you can die, that you can hurt yourself, that you need other human beings. All of that is a part of the human experience. And I feel like we don't someone just said burn that cape, teach. we don't teach the necessity because it's like, no one's going to come for you but you got to take care of yourself and all that kind of stuff. We don't consider the humanity of taking a rest. But I'll tell you one thing, once you start doing it, because I took last year, I took a fuck you break, excuse my language, but I did. I fucked off from Mexico for 6 weeks. It was the best decision of my life for that time. And, I left everyone. I left my friends. I left my boyfriend. And I was like, bye. I got to get out of here. And it was great. And it was awesome. And those who loved me were there when I came back. There wasn't a sense of, oh, Kathleen, you're failing. I think it's important that once you start living as a human being, that stuff starts to get addictive. Like Rachel was like, I have my time now and people appreciate it. Yana saying, I have my time and I appreciate it. And once you start creating, so the culture of the superwoman is a culture we created. And so since we can create it, we can uncreate it, or at least create something new. We can reimagine things, right? So if you reimagine your life, and everyone in your life, including kids, loved ones, spouses, everyone knows the culture is on Thursday nights, we leave mom the fuck alone, then that's what we do. And that's what we do, and everyone respects it, and the kids get it, and everyone gets it. But you have to build the culture in. Yeah. If you don't leave space for yourself, they're not going to take it, and the kids aren't going to understand to leave you alone because you never taught them how to.
Exactly.
You have to build your own culture, and I think that's another important part of the superwoman syndrome. Is you have to decide what movie you're watching. If you're watching, an action flick, if you're watching a superhero movie, stop it. Watch a movie with normal people because you're a normal human being.
Right.
Okay.
I wanted to take a stab at the question that just came.
I put it down to that's what you were saying, but yes, Mika, let's unpack that.
Yeah, when taking mental breaks, how do you make sure you aren't putting a heavy load on your support system? Especially since we don't always talk about what we're individually going through. Your support system, and in my space, in my world, my support system is very strong. Like I try to be as transparent as possible so they know what's going on. So when I really do need a timeout and I have to disappear, that it's not a shock. Like the constant communication, I think helps. We don't always talk about what we're going to deal with, and we probably should. I mean, we don't have to go and pour our lives out on our relatives or on our best friends, but if we're in community, if we're living together, if we're supporting each other, they should have some knowledge of who you are, what your experience is, what you are dealing with in your life. And in turn, you would have the same of them. So hopefully it wouldn't be a situation where, a person is just like, I checked out, I'm gone. No one's heard from them. No one knows what's going on. That would be scary, right? If a person just said, I'm gone. Don't talk to me for 10 weeks. Don't ask me anything. You pay the bills while I'm gone. You take care of the kids. Okay, that might cause a little stress, right? But if there's constant, and that's what Speak is about, constant communication. I am a big communicator. I probably over communicate, but I realize that, first of all, I don't have the ability to read anyone's mind, and none of my friends can read my mind. So I have to talk. One of the reasons why I was so depressed and so unhappy is because I wasn't using my voice. I wasn't speaking my truth. I was hiding inside. I was wearing the mask. I was smiling, performing, doing the dance and all of those great things. And then that wasn't authentically me. I had to first look at myself, say, this is what I need. This is who I am. Present myself, my true self, to my peers and my support system. And I'm not actually going to say everyone can handle this either. Sometimes you may lose friends because you're moving differently now. Sometimes your relationships may not be the same because you had to change for the better. That happens sometimes. It's happened to me personally. There's people I used to be close to that I'm not as close to anymore because I had to make a change for myself. Not saying I don't miss them or I didn't care about them, but our relationships just changed. The way I communicate now wasn't conducive to the relationship as it was before. So I'm always about communicating and letting people know what you need, but also being present for them too. It's not a one-way street here.
Yeah.
Speakers and listeners are speakers, and it's a cycle. We are not breaking that cycle, right? So
yeah, I think the efficacy of Mika, what I want to say is the efficacy of your support system is based on the culture of communication. Do you guys communicate? Do you guys talk? And even if you don't talk, and I'll be transparent. When I was in Mexico, I was going through a lot. I had to put on a lot more weight. I mean, I've always been a big girl, but I put like another fat girl on my fat girl. I was tired. I didn't know where my life was going. And when my besties descended on Mexico, there was a reckoning. My besties, especially the ones who I had seen in a while, they're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And they pulled me aside when we left Mexico. They had like these hour-long, Kiana can tell you, hour-long Zoom calls where they were like, "What is going on?" Because I wasn't communicating, and they are communicators, and they're like, "Yeah, that wasn't you. What is going on?" And they really wanted to know.
Right.
I feel like if you're going through your real support system, the people who really support you, they A, want to know, B, they're going to get invested, and they are going to start communicating, and you should really start communicating with them back. But I feel like if you're not communicating with your support system, you have to measure, is that support system actually effective? Because
Right.
it's not going to be effective if they're not talking and you're not talking.
Right.
You know, and sometimes you start talking and it's a magical, beautiful thing. And sometimes you start talking and it's like what Rachel said. You might need a support system. And either way is beautiful.
Right.
Either way what happens is beautiful.
Right. And there's no right solution to this.
No.
Right. It's what works for you individually. We are individuals. Some things are common among us, but I'm me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
totally.
happen to like, I love water. I love to listen to running water. I love jazz music. I love the piano. Those things calm me down. I have to pace. Some people don't pace. I mean, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience, but that doesn't mean what I experience is going to be the exact same for you, but there is some commonality in there.
Yeah, that's when you're saying, like, especially if we're in a community, my path and what I'm doing in my path may not align with yours anymore, and that's okay.
Right.
The vibration that I might need, like you said, you might need to pace, and someone else might need to, go for a run. Okay, well, I'm not jogging with you, so my niece said no. So how else can I support you? So maybe spreading that support out, knowing which of your friends you can eat tacos with until 3 in the morning, which of your friends, right, that you're gonna, decide to do a fast for 10 days and write in your journal every day and be accountable. You have to decide which of your family you're going to share certain parts with, and try to spread it out, because these people also have things they are going through.
Exactly.
But I want to say, be mindful. Just because we don't say what we're going through, especially if we're in community or we're living together, doesn't mean that they can't see what we're going through. So for me, it manifests as being very, very curt and short, and I'll go, like Kathleen said, just missing in action. So sometimes you have to know your people and know, okay, she's going through it, because so that support system, even when you don't talk, that doesn't mean they don't know you, especially if they're invested. And if you feel like you can't communicate with them, or for whatever reason you guys can't talk about it, that's when it's appropriate to reach out to someone else and let them in on that area if you think you might overwhelm them, or maybe they can't handle this, or I can't handle their response. Find a safe space is the most important thing I ever did when I didn't feel understood. I'm so tired of being misunderstood. I'm tired of being stepped on. I went and found people that I felt would, and she's laughing because I've been saying since I was 14, I'm tired of being stepped on.
She has a really high voice. It's funny though.
I used to have a really high voice. It's getting deeper. But finding a space, where you can speak and be heard, and share. Maybe they'll give you tips on how to tell your mom, or tell your spouse, or talk to your kids about your children and what that means. Here's why mom is snappy today. Here's what, and then you can break those generational curses and remove that energy from your domicile, from your house, from your work environment. You let a coworker that you trust know, I'm going through a lot right now. I can't really speak on it, but just know that. So you have to speak. You have to let people know and communicate, so you can create a culture that produces the environment that you want to live in, that you want to reside in and participate in.
Right.
Lisa said, "You have helped me communicate better, and I thank you." Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable. I feel like a huge theme, our theme today was action, and a huge part of that action is communication.
Yes.
Which brings us back to speak. But yeah, I mean, we can't do this effectively without communication, without constant communication, because the things that you say don't always. I feel like with my friends, especially what I was going through last spring, my friends would ask me if I'm okay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Because in general, I feel good. It's not a lie, but if they dig a little deeper, tell them what's going on, and you might find, oh shit, I'm not okay.
Right.
And then I think the flip side of that I found, I started therapy for the first time in 2020 in my life. I've never been to a therapist before. And there is stuff, for those of you who have never been to therapy or never opened up to it, I know our people aren't big on therapy. There's something freeing about, sharing with someone who doesn't know you and doesn't know your past, and you're really getting this perspective from someplace else. I know we kind of feel like don't be telling everybody your business. Not everybody, just that one therapist.
Right. Just the one therapist.
Right, just that one person who
they're not talking to all of your friends.
Secrets. Yeah, they're legally obligated to keep your secrets, and it's totally cool and great. And a lot of the stuff that I had been working on that caused me to go to Mexico, when my friends called me on it, I was like, oh, I didn't tell you, did I? I told my therapist. But I wasn't sharing with them. And I was going through my shit, but I hadn't told them because I was still working through it. And that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes your support system might get late to the party because you're working on your own stuff. And that's totally okay.
That's okay.
By the time my support system gets to the party, I'm usually gone. They're like, hey, where'd you go? Yeah. So what had happened was I went to Mecca for 6 months, and I came yeah. So however you deal, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to plug one more time and then see if we have any other questions. I'm going to check all the different streams before I say we have no questions. But while I'm doing that, I just have to plug again. If you're just joining us, we want you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Speak Suicide Prevention. We're using the hashtag It's Time to Speak. Visit us at speaksuicideprevention.org, particularly if you know someone or somebody who may need our services. We call the people who are ideating suicide within Speak, we call them speakers, and people who are the support systems, we call them listeners. So whether you be a speaker or a listener, come check out our programming and all the cool stuff we're doing at speaksuicideprevention.org. It's a space created specifically for Black people and people of color, but we are turning no one away. So by any means, come and check us out. One of my last questions while we're wrapping, we're going to go a little longer because we started late. I just want, if Rachel or Tiana, if you guys have any recommendations, books, podcasts, YouTube video essays, anything that you feel would be supportive of this space, particularly of people of color and mental wellness and mental health. If you could do any of those recommendations while I'll look at the streams to see if we have any questions. We'd love to hear anything. What do you guys use? What supports you in terms of help and support? I'll start with you.
Okay. I do have a couple of books that I hold dear to me. One is The Body Keeps the Score. And it's more kind of like a medical explanation of
love that book.
What happens, but it was recommended to me by a psychiatrist and then another therapist and a really good friend. So I had it on audio. I decided to buy it. It's a really good read because it basically goes through how your body physically responds to the things that like stress or trauma. And I had to learn how to have a connection with my physical body, right? I had to teach myself how to regulate my emotions. If I'm hungry, if you're, do you have to relieve yourself? Like I had to mentally check in. We learn these things as children, but sometimes the connection gets broken because of some of our experiences. So that book has been really helpful to me. I will put up the title in the chat and the author because I have to look up the author's name, even though the book is there. And I also it's a corny book, but it's The Four Agreements. It's so basic, but I love it. And every time I read it, I get a different message out of it.
What I was going to say was, I'm sorry not to interrupt you, but that book is not simple. That book keeps coming back around.
Yes.
That's right. It's not about me. Damn it. keeps coming around. You think it's simple, and you're like, "That's it," and then it just keeps repeating in your life.
Right.
It's quite annoying, actually.
The first
Yeah.
agreement is usually the best one. I'm like, all right, I'll spend some time here. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of reading, and I just try to do a lot of, I like information because it makes me feel like I'm empowered to walk along this journey. I can protect myself. I'm not saying that, healthcare practitioners don't have your best at hand or the best for you on their minds, but like in my experience, I had to figure out what was best for me because the medications that I was taking were not working for me. Right. So I had to take the initiative to just, ask some questions, be a little more communicative, talk, be transparent and be vulnerable. And I know those things are hard, but I also believe that those are two of the core principles of starting this type of work with yourself. If you cannot look at yourself, if you don't want to look at those deep, dark passages that you have hidden inside of you and say, oh, what's in here? It's dusty. Let's turn on the light and see what that was. Because it may still be affecting you and you may not even know. So just take some time, take a minute, give yourself that grace. Be kinder to yourself, which is what we'll talk about tomorrow. But it definitely requires communication. It definitely requires just having that drive and making a determination and deciding to change your mindset. Deciding. Yeah.
I was going to piggyback on the core agreements because
honestly, Carlos, thank you for hitting us with the authors. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Yana, go ahead.
That book is life-changing. And it's back to the first agreement, just speaking, even that self-talk that you're doing and the words that you're speaking against yourself. I also co-sign on that co-sign of the 4 agreements. We are all in agreement that is an excellent tool. Other things, I meditate, I listen to, Muji Baba. I'll read really heavy in reading the Psalms, reading the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, reading the Bhagavad Gita, reading things that remind me of the timelessness of humanity and that there's nothing new under the sun. So what I'm experiencing isn't unique to me. There's someone out there who is experiencing or has experienced this level of hopelessness. And so I like to communicate in community and read things that remind me of that. I use apps for affirmations. So like Moonly or any app that reminds you daily of positive self-talk. The Pattern app is excellent.
Love it.
You use the Pattern? Oh,
yes, I love it.
Yeah, it'll read you your entire life, and I recommend it to everyone I talk to.
It tells you all of your business.
All
of your business.
But it gives you hope at the same time. It shows you, if you go on, you can see a feed of people who are like, oh, wow, someone else is going through that. Yep. Oh my gosh, because they're sharing their experience. So the Pattern app, you can put that in there. I think that's highly recommended as well.
I put in celebrities that I have crushes on and see if we would be compatible. That's not what the parent is for. I'm just saying I read a really long essay on how me and Idris Elba would be perfect together.
Wow.
No, you had an essay, huh?
Well, the Pattern app gives you an essay. It was like you guys would have many adventures together. It was like all of this stuff was quite awesome.
Go for it.
Yeah.
The universe is rooting for you.
And if you're interested in sound frequencies, I think that's a huge deal. Like I have my sound bowl. I was playing because I was going to speak today. And so I wanted to get into my throat chakra. So I used the sound bowls to literally activate my throat chakra and change my vibration. It's a real thing. It sounds all goofy, but if you do any type of research, you'll find out about, the power of the vibrations that we're around. So I recommend you can go on Amazon and get a little bowl, I think for $20, and just vibrate yourself. Feel the vibrations go through your body.
I just gifted myself my first sound bowl.
Yeah, it changed your life.
It's awesome. Actually, I used to, I started practicing a form of yoga, Kundalini, but they actually use a gong. So as your body is going through the movements of the yoga itself, that vibration enhances the energy that's flowing. It's amazing. So just
Yeah.
try new things. Just try things you just didn't try before.
I think a lot of things that we don't do as a people is a lot of times we don't just kind of ask ourselves, what kind of stuff just makes you happy? You know,
Right.
do you like walking in nature? Do you like, having a lot of sex? Do you like, reading? Do you like, going out for a jog? Do you know, like, what kind of stuff is your deep, deep pleasure? Like, are you a foodie? Do you like going to see a theater? And I don't think we focus so much. There's so much of our lives that are, work, and even this is
Sure.
deep shadow work, and all of those things that we have to do. But it's like, are you gifting yourself with pleasure?
Right.
Every now and then, just gift yourself with pleasure. Be it like okay, I'm getting a pedicure, but this time I'm getting a 5-minute foot massage.
Exactly.
Just something. Gifting yourself with joy and pleasure and happiness is so important, because I just don't think we as a people do that enough. It's like, oh, that's frivolous, or that's that. I feel like my best friend, Raven, I felt like after, like, I think we've been living together for like 6 years, and I finally got her to the point where she's like, I mean, do I need it? I'm like, what you think? You need that? Get that. Like, I got into the point where she's just focusing on her pleasure, and I think that it's important that we do that, because shit is hard. Not pleasure every day, but it's just what brings
Pay yourself sometimes. Yes. Pay yourself first. Tell yourself, I'm worth it. Actually, no, I am going to get that massage because I'm worth it. I'm about to go get a paraffin dip, okay? The kind where they give you new feet, because I'm worth it, okay?
Yeah.
I'm gifting myself.
Yes.
Because I'm worth it. So I agree with your pleasure assessment, Catherine.
Yes.
Absolutely on the pleasure.
I do the same thing. Whenever I have a challenging day, or I accomplish something that I knew was going to be challenging and I just didn't want to do it, but I did it. I go to Starbucks. I may have ice cream. I have a treat just for me that allows me to say, you did that. You accomplished it. Even if it was hard. I congratulate myself on those little wins, because they add up to big wins after a while. So, they seem like, frivolous little things, but they really mean a lot. They really do.
Because what is life but right now?
Right.
So
Right
now, you want some frozen yogurt. I love frozen yogurt. You need some frozen yogurt with like some little stuff on top. If that brings you deep pleasure, go get
little
it.
balls that explode. That used to be
Totally. I feel it. Well, look, we are past time, and I've been having a wonderful time with all of you on the chat. Kiana, and I'm sorry, Yana. Her real name is Kiana Yan. I've known her too long. It's hard for me not to say Kiana. Yana and Rachel. Oh my God, what an amazing night. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, audience, for coming. I've definitely enjoyed this. One more time, I'm just going to plug our social, Speak Suicide Prevention, hashtag It's Time to Speak. And then as well, please go visit our new, beautiful, sexy website, speaksuicideprevention.org. Is there a word, a single word you guys want to leave us with as we go on with our night?
I'm going to say breathe.
I'm going to say compassion.
And I'm going to say joy.
Yourself.
That's my word.
You're going to say what?
Joy. Yes. So I love that. Breathe, compassion, joy. I love that. Thank you so much. Listen, everybody, tomorrow we're digging into kindness. Reverend Bridget Kelso Anthony will be with us, and we are going to have a wonderful, wonderful time speaking, chatting, and we're going to do this one more night, 3 nights, to celebrate the launch of the Speak Suicide Prevention initiative. We're so happy. We're so proud. We're going to change lives. We're going to save lives. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you tomorrow. Kiana, much love. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbled and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to end our broadcast. You guys have a wonderful night. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Have a good night. Bye.